Hello, we've reached the video for creating the index page. So let's jump right in. We are on a branch PC commit index page. The very end of the last video showed us creating that branch as a branch off of the create commit page branch. We will open this up in VS Code and we're going to go into the front end directory. We're working in source and we are working under main pages, and it's the commits index page where right now we have just a placeholder. We're going to take all of the code out. We're going to go to our restaurants index page as our model, grab all of that code, paste it in, and then we're going to change everywhere that we see restaurant stuff to stuff for our commits. So restaurant table becomes commits table from main components commits, not commit form, but commit table. This stays the same. This we now called commit index page. Commit index page. There we go. Now here we have data, and the data this is use backend. So let's look at this from the right hand side first. We're making a call to use backend, which, as we discussed in an earlier video, is our wrapper around React Query library, a library that manages communication with the back end and caching and refreshing. What we want is to do a get on this URL. The method is get. The URL is API commits all. We also have a cache key, and because we're going to cache the results, and then periodically we may need to invalidate the cache so that we refresh the page. This list here is a list of cache keys associated with this get, and typically we're going to use this URL as the cache key. It's just easier. We wouldn't have to. We could use anything we wanted here, any string at all, but using the URL makes sense. So that's what we're doing here. And we are disabling these two lines with Striker because the internal caching of React Query is kind of hard to test. So we're not going to try to do that. We're just disabling Striker mutations on these two lines. We do need to make sure that when we take the result that comes back, it comes back in the variables data, error, and status, and we're going to reassign data to the variable commits. And that is the variable we're going to pass in to our not our restaurant table, but our commits table. So this should be commits table. And we'll go ahead and change the header to commits. This is basically done now. This is basically done. The only thing left is we're going to have a create button on this page. And the create button is, you can see that right here inside the basic layout. If the current user has the role admin, then we are going to return a button. Otherwise, this create button is just going to kind of be an empty thing that doesn't show up. That's how we get the effect of, if you're an admin, the create button shows up. If you're not an admin, the create button does not show up. So that's how we make that work. So this create button should basically navigate us not to restaurants create, but to commits create, and it should say create commit. And that's all there is to it. That's our page. Let's now see whether it works. So we will fire up Maven Spring Boot run, and we'll fire up our front end. And we have a problem in the front end. Let's see, what is it? Can't resolve main components commits commit table. All right, well, let's take a look. Main components commits. We are going to have to rebase on the branch that has the commits table in it. We did not do that. So let's pause here for a moment. And let's go back over here. And let's find out what is the name of that branch. Well, if I do get branch minus A, and that's because it hasn't been merged into main. If it had already been merged into main, we'd be in good shape, but it hasn't been. PC commit table, this one right here. So if we rebase on PC commit table, let's see if that works. Get full minus minus rebase origin PC commit table. Oh, we have unstaged changes. So we can't do a rebase while we have these unstaged changes. So we're going to use something called get stash. Get stash is a way of taking some commits, setting them aside for a moment, doing something, and then bringing them back. So I'm just going to do get stash. And now if I do get status, that commit just, or actually even those changes sort of went away. And if I do a get stash pop, those changes are back. So it's not even a commit that we're setting aside. It's just some changes, right? So get stash again. Get stash pop is how you undo the get stash. It's like a stack. So get stash basically pushes something on the stack. Now I'm going to try to do that rebase. And we have a conflict. Get status. We have 3 conflicts, and they're all in UCSB Dining Commons related stuff. So let's see what those conflicts are. It's under source main components, UCSB Dining Commons menu item, source stories, Dining Commons, and components, Dining Commons menu item form test. So let's go over here and we can take this file name and come over here and do a Command P, bring it up. And here is here's our changes. And oh boy, it's a lot. It's a lot. And we have to decide which one of these looks correct and which one of these looks incorrect. So I am going to guess that it is the incoming change that is correct here. This Dining Commons code is all smushed together, but this is spread out. So I'm going to accept the incoming change. Here, again, this looks like the incoming change is probably the one we want. Here we have errors Dining Commons code versus errors name. And we are in the Dining Commons code, correct? So here, actually, we probably want current change, which makes me think, well, I don't know. It's hard to say because, boy, in the other 2 cases, we accepted the current change instead of the incoming change. So let's undo that again and let's look. Oh, no, we did. We accepted the incoming change, right? But here it looks like the current change is the right one. So let's go with the current change all the way through just because that will be maybe a little more. I mean, I prefer the second one, but I'm guessing that the first one is probably more likely the one that is going to finally be correct. And then here, yeah, current change. In this case, we are under the name field. So indeed, it is the current change that's the correct one. Current change, current versus incoming. Here we're in station, so current change. That looks right to me. Now, we also have this, let's see, Dining Commons menu form. All right, so we took care of that one. So let's go over here and do a get add on that. That's how we mark that one has been dealt with as far as rebasing. So now we want to, and I can, by the way, I can just do code and put this in, and then that will open it up directly in VS Code. So here, which one is correct? Well, in this case, item versus items. Oh, wow. We have to figure out which of those is correct. So if we look, this is in the stories. We need to look under main components, and we have here, open this up, menu item. So the current change is the correct one. And we want probably the current change here also. This looks to me like it is just a white space change, but we probably want the current change. So we will mark this as resolved, get add, that's the stories file. And then finally, I'll type code with this last one. And let's see what we have. We have, it's the spelling on dining commons menu item fixtures. So if we look at the uppercase versus lowercase, if we look at the fixtures, it is lowercase. So we definitely want the current change. Here, the current change, dining commons code, name, and station. I believe those are the correct headers here. Name, station, and submit. Yep, that's the one we want. And then here, dining commons menu item form, initial contents. This appears to me to be just a white space like formatting change, but I think the current change is probably the one we want. Now we have some tests. Dining commons name and station. Dining commons name and station. Oh boy. Again, I think it is just white space, and I think the top one is the one we want. So let's come back over here and do a get status. We'll do a get add. We can just do get add dot this time. Get status. And let's also do a npm run format just to be sure. Oh, I need to be in the front end directory to do that. npm run format. Get status. And okay, all conflicts fixed. Get rebase minus continue. And we have the same issue again, get status. This time it's UCSB organization fixtures. So let's open that up. Now, sometimes this can go on for a very long time and you realize, oh boy, I would be better off, instead of trying to do this rebase, to simply do a merge. In this case, it looks like the current change is the correct one. It's the one that's formatted properly. And we can do a get status. We can do a get add dot, do a get status, and then do an npm run format just to make sure. And yes, that was right. Let's try get rebase minus continue. And we have again, help request fixtures. So let's look at help request fixtures. And again, it looks like a formatting issue. We will take the current change, which looks like the correct one, and do an npm run format, and then do a get status. We'll do a get add dot, get status, get rebase minus continue, get status, help request fixtures again. Really? Ah, here it is. Okay, and it's the semicolon, so incoming change. Get status, get add dot, get status. And now finally, oh yeah, okay, get rebase minus continue. And finally, let's see, it looks like this commit is ready to be committed. Escape colon WQ. And oh my goodness, we still have more, still more. Up, formatter, again, we're kind of reliving all of Daniel's life on this branch. We will accept the incoming change this time. Get status, get add dot, get status. We'll do npm run format just to make sure that it doesn't change it back. Get status, we're still good. Get rebase minus continue. Do that commit, get status. Now this is getting a little ridiculous. So at some point we might just say, you know what, this is not working well. It's too many things to resolve. So we just forget the whole thing. We say get rebase minus minus abort. We're back here. And hopefully we still have our changes. We can do a get stash pop. There they are. So I'm going to do a get stash again. We're going to try a different approach. Instead of a rebase, let's try merging in the changes from that other branch. So let's see, what was the other branch that we needed? If we go all the way back here, instead of a get pull minus minus rebase origin PC commit table, I'm going to do a get fetch origin. And then I'm going to do a get merge origin. And what was that branch again? PC. I'll just type history to see. Didn't go back far enough. So history 100. Go back far enough to see it was PC commit table. So if I do a get branch minus A, I can try to merge in PC commit table, but I should be careful. I should go to that branch first. So well, a couple ways I can do it. One is I can go to that branch and update it. The other thing I can do is I can use origin slash PC commit table, like here, origin slash PC commit table. The difference between origin PC commit table versus origin slash PC commit table is that this refers, this notation here, where it's origin slash PC commit table, this is a local branch in my local repo, but it is the local repo's notion of where origin PC commit table points over on GitHub. And I update it by doing get fetch origin. Now, remember, because we may be a little lost at this point, what is the problem we were trying to solve? The problem we were trying to solve is that I am trying to build my index page, and I don't have the commits for the table component in this branch. So I want to merge those in. So I'm going to do get merge origin, not that, PC commit table. We tried doing this earlier with a rebase. The trouble there is that you've got to resolve the merge conflicts one commit at a time. A rebase takes a set of commits, picks them up, and then puts them on top of another set of commits. It basically says rebase these commits not on the base that they're on now, but on this new starting point. And that creates merge conflicts all down the line. A merge says, no, we're just going to create a new commit. We've got two different branches, going to create a new commit, squash them together all at once. And if there's merge conflicts to resolve, so be it, but we will resolve them once and for all in one spot. And so let's see what happens. Here's our merge, and it looks like we might have no merge conflicts at all. And there it is. It was that simple. So now we can do a get push origin. What branch am I on right now? Get status, PC commit index page, get push origin, PC commit index page. And then I can do a get stash pop and bring back my commits index page. The problem we had before when we tried to do npm start was that the table component didn't exist. It was basically saying that this page, let's find it again, my commits index page, it was saying that this commits table didn't exist. But now we've merged in the branch that had those commits in it. If I do npm start, hopefully now it does at least start. Now, I haven't run the back end yet. That's why that didn't work. Here's the front end. Actually, this is the, let's control C here. Normally I use this window for the front end. So we'll start the front end here. We'll start the back end here. So Maven Spring Boot run. And now if I log in and go to commits, oh, look, it's a commits index page. There it is. So I have a table and all of the commits exist on this table. The delete button won't work yet because we are so far, or will it? Maybe it will actually, because the delete was part of it was part of the table when we made it. We haven't tested it yet, but in principle, it should communicate with the back end. Look at that. It actually works. How about that? Edit is the one that won't work yet. If I click edit, it goes to the edit page that's not implemented. But that's all right. That's the thing we're going to do in our next pull request. So we've got this implemented. We still need to do tests and stories though. So let's tackle those one at a time. Let's do the story first this time. So we're going to go to main and then stories and commits. And what we want is actually under stories, we want pages. And we're going to make a commits index page.stories.js. And we're going to use the restaurants index page as our model. So we're going to paste that in, paste a copy of that in, rename this to commits index page. Come in here, and at the top, everything is pretty standard except for restaurants. Fixtures should be commit fixtures. There's commit fixtures. There we go. Then we need to do commits and commits index page, commits index page. Restaurant index page is going to be commits index page. Current user system info stays the same, but API commits all. And instead of return, well, no, an empty list is what we want for empty. So that's actually correct. We want an empty list for the empty table. When we have 3 items, instead of restaurant fixtures, we're going to kind of want commit fixtures dot 3 commits. And down here, same thing, API restaurants all, we're going to want commit fixtures. And then when we have the admin user, we want to mock our delete endpoint. So this is going to be API, not API restaurants all, by the way, not here, but API commits all. API commits and restaurant should be commit deleted successfully. Status 200. That looks good to me. That is our story setup. Except restaurant index page should be commits index page. And this should be commits, and this should be commits index page. Okay, let's try npm run storybook. Let's see, commits. Oh, here we go. Commits, create page, commits index page. That looks pretty good. Not sure why the empty one isn't empty. That's a little odd. See how the empty one isn't empty? Let's see, what did we do over here to mess that up? Empty uses API commits all, and this is empty. 3 items ordinary user, 3 items admin user. I am a little confused by that, I will be honest. I wonder if we're missing in the template. Let me just look at something right quick. No. All right. I am a little confused by that because I would have expected the since we have the parameters here for empty to be these, I would have expected, and the API commits all, the response is this. I would have expected that. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I see it now. This is commits. This needs to be commits. That might be it. I'm not sure. Um, okay, let's try it again. NPM run storybook. Commits. Oh, commits index page. The empty example still shows 3 commits, and 3 items ordinary user shows edit and delete, and 3 items admin user shows edit and delete. And that just something's not right there. Let's look at this again. So this is admin user. This is user only. It's as if these parameters down here are being used for all of the stories in the storybook, which makes me think that perhaps we have set this up incorrectly. I'm going to pause the video for a moment and see if I can figure out what is wrong. And if I can't, we'll just move on. But you see that this is not working the way it should. What should happen is that there should be 3 different scenarios in the storybook. Let's see if that's true for these other ones. So if I look under help request, well, help request only has index page, but let's look at restaurants and UCSB date. So restaurant index page actually only has, oh yeah, it's the same problem on all of these. So I think it's a problem in the starter code and not something that, it's something we'll have to fix for all of these if we want to fix it. Because what should be happening is the empty example should be empty, and then the other 2 should be different. So let me see if I can figure out what's wrong. All right, here's what I found out. We recently upgraded Storybook from version 6 to version 8. And the way that parameters work, in fact, the way that stories are written, you can see here, this args and parameters and this export const template bind. This matches, let me put this side by side, the way that our stories are written. And this is just no longer the way that it is done in version 8, which is the version that we're on now. It's done with a completely different pattern. So we will probably need to update our storybook examples to this new pattern. I'm going to let go of it because it's very late in the project for us to be making a big change of that kind. We will see if we can incorporate this change into some of the work in our legacy code project, updating it for Storybook 8. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But that is, one of the facts of life when you work with these frameworks. The frameworks change over time. And although you may want to stay with the older versions, sometimes you have no choice due to security updates, due to compatibility with new versions of operating systems and so forth. You kind of are forced to stay current. And sometimes that means breaking changes. So this storybook is not working quite as it should, but it is good enough. So we're going to go ahead with it. The thing that's not working is that there really should be 3 different versions of the story here. That's the intention. All of them are getting the parameters from the 3rd one, but I think rather than trying to fix it with the version 6 syntax, we probably ought to just migrate to the version 8 syntax. But we are going to defer that until after this quarter is over, at least for this team02 project. And we're just going to move ahead. So let me close out of this. And we're going to declare victory with this storybook. And we're going to move on to writing the test. So for the commits index page test, let us go to our tests directory. Let's close up stories, open up tests, and go under pages. And under commits, we have a commits index page test, which right now is the one for the, this is the index page not implemented. This is the tests for the placeholder page. We'll grab all of that and get rid of it. And we will go to restaurants index page, grab all of this code and paste it in. And we're going to change everywhere that we find restaurant stuff to be commit stuff. So restaurant index page becomes commits index page. This is now commits. This is now commits index page. Restaurant fixtures become commit fixtures. Let's see, going on down, this will stay the same. Restaurant index page becomes commit index page. This becomes commit table. We're going to keep all of this, and renders with create button for admin user. We want to mock the get on API commits all with getting an empty table here. And then we're just going to check that the create restaurant is in the document. Check that that link, that button, has a link to commits create, and that it is floating off to the right. That's the CSS style element. This should render 3 commits correctly for the regular user. So API commits all, commits fixtures, 3 commits. This will be the commits index page. And here we expect, now this is where we're looking for particular content, and it needs to match what are in the fixtures file. So let's split the screen here and go back to the commit fixtures. 1, 3, and 4 are the IDs that should be in rows 0, 1, and 2. The rows start numbering with 0. So this is going to be 1, and then 3, and then 4. Those are the ID columns. This should not be create restaurant button. I am going to just name this to create button instead of create restaurant button. But I am going to call this create commit. Now we want to check that the name is Freebirds, but that's not correct. We want to check that the message is the message from one of these commits. So let's grab this message right there, and we'll put that in place of Freebirds. We don't need the double quotes there, just single quotes. So we expect that message to be in the document. And then we need to look for a description as well. We basically want to do this with each one of our fields. So let's do that with message. Let's do this with a URL. So there's a URL. Let's get rid of the extra punctuation there and make sure we have, let's see. Yep, that should just be a parentheses and then a semicolon. Let's see if we can make a little bit more room here to see this. And then, yes, we expect the URL to be in the document. What else do we expect to see here? We would expect to see the author login. On this one, it's P. Conrad. So, oops, expect author login. Oops, sorry. Okay, URL is going to be author login. And that's going to be P. Conrad. I don't have to use the first row, but I'm just using it for convenience. And then we expect the delete button and the edit button not to be in the document for non-admin users. All right. Now notice I have done message, URL, and author login. I'm skipping commit time. I think that if I skip commit time, I may end up with some kind of a striker exception, but We'll see. We'll see if that is the case. I might end up with a code coverage problem or a striker exception, but let's see how that turns out. All right, that is the first test. As is my typical practice, I'm going to comment out the second test and see if we can get the first test to pass. Also, I'm noticing a little, let's close this up because I'm noticing, yes, it looks like that is a stray, some stray punctuation there. All right, let's see what happens if we try to run this test. So npm test, and we have a failure. Commits fixtures is not defined. So let's see. Commit fixtures is maybe down here I have commits fixtures when I should have commit fixtures. Yep, right there. All right, so let's try that again and see what we get. All right, restaurant index page is not, right, restaurant index page is not defined because we should be looking for the commits index page, but where is restaurants index page? Right here. Commits index page. And it looks as if we actually have, two tests. We're actually running two tests right now. Have we fixed all of those tests? I think we have. Oh no, look here. This says create restaurant. That should say create commit, and this should say create commit. Missed that the first time around. Let's see. Two tests have passed. That's good. Let's see what happens when we uncomment this next test. Okay, and it's still referring to restaurant index page. So let's change that to commits index page. And while we're at it, we'll do the same thing down in this next test. So we're prepared for that. This should be commits. And then error with communicating with the backend, that should be on commits all. And that's good. So what's happening here is we're checking that when the backend is unavailable, we get an empty table and that we get the right error message showing that that we had an error communicating with the backend. And then our final test is for what happens when you click the delete button. We want to make sure that the delete button works properly. So we set up an admin user. We set up to get 3 commits. So this should be commit fixtures dot 3 commits. We want this to be commits, and this should be a commit with ID 1 was deleted. And we're getting there. Let's see. Commits index page, we want to wait for this to be in the document. The ID will be 1 instead of 2 because the ID in our first fixture is 1. We expect to find a delete button. We click it, and then we expect this to be commit with ID 1 was deleted. This is deprecated. The to be called with is supposed to be replaced with to have been called with. Just some person improving the grammar of our library here. We expect not to call API restaurants, but to call API commits. So let's fix that. Looks like we have that line in there twice. We don't really need that line in there twice. And we expect the parameter to be 1, not 2. And it passes. All right, so we've got our tests passing. I believe we have our storybook set up, even though there were a few things about it that were a little dodgy, but we're gonna just move forward with that. So I think we're probably ready for a pull request. We may also, though, want to deploy this on Doku. Let's do a npm run format. Let's do an npx ESLint -- fix dot. Oh, and I also mentioned that we want to do npm run coverage. And we'll do an ESLint striker run as well to see. All right, so we've got 100% coverage. npx striker run -m, and let's take this commits index page, not the test. We run striker on the code itself. So copy path, paste that in, and we will see what happens when we create a bunch of mutants and run the test cases. None survived, so we're in good shape. So that goes to show over here, when we were writing these tests, we put in tests for what was it? We put in tests for the message, for the URL, for the author login. We skipped putting in a test for the time, and everything is fine. And it's probably because of the fact that we already tested that when we tested the table. So we don't need to test everything redundantly. We just have to test that everything is coming together properly. Some of the testing we did for the table allows us to cut some corners when we're testing that same table component in the context of a page. So I think we're in good shape here. We are probably ready to do a pull request. Get status. Well, first of all, we have to do a commit. So get add dot get status, get commit -m PC, add commits index page with stories and tests. Get push origin PC commit index page -u. And I think we should be able to go over to hub.com. Here's our, oops, wrong run, wrong repo. team02, there it is. Here is PC commit index page. Before I go there, let me know what my issue number is. My issue number is 96. That's the index page for commits. So let's go back to the repo. We're going to close 96 with this pull request. Closes number 96. Merge after. And now let me open the pull request queue in another tab. And this has to be after the commit table. So that's 111. And it needs to be after 112, where we added things to the menu. So 111, 112, and probably, I think that 98, 99, 111 already depends on 98. Is that true? Or after 99. So I think if we just depend on 11 and 112, we're in good shape. So, oh, wrong. Merge after, actually, we merge after 113 and 111. That's what we want. So, wait a minute, what? Wasn't I already in the middle of doing that? Yeah, here we go. Merge after 111 and 113. There it is. In this PR, we add the commit index page. To test, you can visit this Doku deployment, and we will need to actually deploy it on that Doku deployment. So let's come over here, and that timed out. So again, we will log in to Doku using my !SSH to recall those commands. And there is my most recent get sync. So I can copy paste everything except for the branch. And this is going to be PC commit index page. Is that the name of our branch? Yep. PC commit index page. And then yes, rebuild. So this again back over here, visit this Doku deployment, which is going to be HTTPS team02 dev econrad.doku0 csucip.edu. Visit the commits index page and create and delete should work properly. And in a minute, when that's deploying, I'll just say here, I'll say to do, add screenshot, and then to do, add storybook link. Create pull request. Okay, so now we wait for all of this to go through. And now I'm noticing files changed 19. That is because this is based on a lot of previous pull requests. As we merge them and rebase, the number of files changed in this pull request will go down, down, down to where it should just be that last commit, the one with the basically the last commit here, the commits index page with stories and tests. Everything else will have been, by rebasing, everything else will already be there. So that's what we're hoping for anyway. And we will now, I think now it's just a matter of waiting for these to go through on CI/CD. So I'm going to pause the video for a moment. All right, resuming our recording here. We now have this deployed on Doku. So I should be able to log in and go to commits and see a commit, go into create a commit and fill in the fields. 12, 31, whatever. Any value is fine. Create. And we have a commit, and that is working. So I think we can basically take a screenshot of this, and we can put it in our pull request. So we'll add a screenshot down here. Oops, paste that in. And we also need to add a storybook link. Let's see if we have a storybook link ready to go. This is pull request 114. And over here, pull request 114 storybook. Looks like it is coming up. And so this is the commits index page. Here is the storybook link. And we'll drop that into our storybook. And this is the screenshot. And let's make this a numbered list. Just say, visit this Doku deployment to log in. I should say log in, visit the commits page, create and delete should work properly. There we go. To test. That looks good. We have the yellow circle here. If we go here and say verify changes, and we should be able to see that, okay, here is our commits index page empty. We'll accept that. This is with 3 items ordinary user, 3 items admin user. And what's weird is that these screenshots, which are from the storybook, actually seem to be working properly there. So I'm not quite sure what was happening with the storybook earlier, but in any case, this seems to be all right. If we go back and let's see, will this take me back to the pull request? Sometimes there's a link to go back to the pull request and sometimes there isn't, but I can get back to it over here and we've got the green check. So we are ready to go on our Kanban board. Filter this, Conrad, Drag this over to in review. And our last story is ready for us to work on. That is what we will do in our next video. See you then.